dude.
And we are live, folks. Welcome to the Sit Down Standard, the podcast celebrating all the amazing things you can do while sitting, whether it's enjoying movies, watching television, or playing games.
Or watching football.
That's right. My name is David Bray. I'm one of your hosts. I'm joined, as always, with Gerald Bales.
Hi.
And Gerald Bales again.
Yes.
I think what everyone should do at this point is write an email to us. We should do a petition to work to
or
get...
a vote, a poll. Jordan back, yay, nay.
We're going to have to renegotiate his contract because our subscribers have gone up since he's left.
Yeah, it'd be like, listen, guy, maybe we don't want you. I'm just kidding. I miss Jordan a lot.
I know. I think he misses the show, too. It was funny when he called me before we even filmed last week's episode. He's like, I haven't even missed an episode and I already miss it.
Yeah. Well, but he liked our last show, right?
Yeah. What are you going to write down here? Okay, so anyways, we'll start the show with... Well, first things first, because I always want to say this because some people still don't know. If you don't already know and you're listening to the audio version, we do a video version of our podcast. You can go to our YouTube channel. Just search for Sit Down Standard on YouTube. Also, we do a Q&A before the show on Periscope. So if you follow us on Twitter, it's just at Sit Down Standard. And I also put stuff up on Instagram, just at Sit Down Standard.
Instagram, Facebook, all the cool things kids are doing these days.
The cool social medias.
Yeah.
So yeah, check that out. But before we go any further into the show, what were you going to say? What does that say? Oh, yeah, we might want to, but we'll do that in a second.
All
but before we move forward, he's writing notes to me, folks. By the way, on the audio podcast, secret notes, producer notes. But before we move any further into the show, we'll start with what you doing, what you doing, what you doing. Da 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 da. Pretty good?
Yeah.
I was going to do a Coldplay inspired, a little bit of the...
What you doing?
There you go.
It was all what you doing.
All right, so we'll start with you. What you doing? What have you been up to, man?
Other than today?
Yeah.
Or other than the Super Bowl? We played some board games.
Yeah.
We played Twilight Struggle.
Did you enjoy it?
I really liked it.
Okay, so this is a board game, 2-player board game, right?
Yes.
2-player only. One player is the U.S., one is the USSR. And
the better of the two.
I have a question about you. Why you like
It's a long story. It involves being young, really liking Red Alert, and just kind of... My favorite color is red. And yeah.
Red Alert is the reason you like communism.
Pretty much. No, not... yeah.
Well, just the USSR and all of it.
Maybe the Soviets, I was like, that's cool. And then I actually read the Communist Manifesto. I was like, this is awesome.
Yeah.
But then you factor in, what humans really like. You're like, this will never happen.
Yeah,
but it's a cool concept. But yeah. Anyway.
But, yeah, so it's a 2-player board game where, like I said, one player is the U.S. and one is the USSR. And you're essentially working through from the end of World War II and then all the way through the Cold War. And what it is it's essentially a kind of a area control, kind of like Risk. You've got a map of the world, and you're trying to create influence and score points at certain specific points in the game based off of when you have the most influence in a particular region.
So there's no armies or anything like that, but it's almost like propaganda armies because you're just trying to take influences over countries in the world, obviously U.S. versus USSR, and based on those influences, if you have more influence, you have control over said cities or battleground cities as well, you get points, and that's how you win.
Yeah, and what's awesome about it is that you basically, it's essentially kind of a card game. It's Risk with cards. So these cards, you can either use them as like an operations points. What were you going to say?
It's like Risk has cards, but... Yeah.
No, I know, but it's primarily played with dice.
Yeah.
But in this game, so the cards themselves essentially have... different things that you can do. They're called events, and you can either do the event that's on the card, and sometimes they're beneficial to one party or both parties, or kind of neither party in some instances.
Right.
Or you can forego the event and just do a use the card's value for its operation value, so that we can get influence or try to perform a coup in some of the different countries where someone else might have control, things like that.
Right, but there's also things like when you cause coups, there's a different track. There's a DEFCON track, and when that DEFCON reaches a higher point, a lower point is worse, right?
Yeah, which I actually thought, I always thought like DEFCON 5 was the worst, but apparently DEFCON 1 is like when the nuclear bomb.
We're not military strategics people, I guess. But anyway, so you don't want to, but things you do like coups and things like that can cause that DEFCON. There are certain cards that cause that DEFCON level to go down, which is bad. And that ends the game too if you reach DEFCON 1, and that causes a nuclear war. So it's a balance between obviously keeping influence in specific regions of the game or of the world, keeping that DEFCON level high.
Yeah.
And then there's also a space race track, making sure your opponent doesn't get too high on that. There's a bunch of stuff you have to balance around David, how did it do when we
I
played?
didn't do very well. I lost super quick.
USSR, baby.
So what's cool about the game is that obviously it's a heavy game. There's no doubt about it. This
Very heavy.
took us a few times reading the rules, and I still think we've probably got to play it 2 or 3 more times to actually get the full gameplay in. But
And there's 3 different decks: early war, mid war, late war, that change the ways the game is played. And we only even reached the mid. We didn't even get to mid.
yeah, that's how quickly I lost.
David sucked.
But I think that's part of just learning how the game is played. You know what I mean? Like there were certain
We
things
played
that-
it for the first time. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, but it's highly rated on Board Game Geek. I think it's in the top 5 games
I
of
think
all
it was
time.
like 2 or something like that.
Yeah, it was
Really high
one
up there.
for a very, very long time until Pandemic Legacy came out, which is right behind us. But excellent game, super thematic, which I love. It's rich in history. All of the cards actually occurred. So like there's a Fidel Castro, which allows you, the USSR player, to gain control of Cuba, and then so it's a lot of cool thematic things. But like you said, what's cool is not only if you are super aggro in this game, you're super aggressive on trying to get influence and do things in a way that's super aggressive, you can trigger the nuclear war that ends the world. And if you're the current player, when that happens, you actually lose. So
yeah, so just like the real Cold War, there's a really difficult to maintain balance of all these different things,
Tug of war.
theater that's going on in the world. So it's really thematic. It's great. I wasn't alive during that. Well, I guess we were alive, but we didn't really know what was going on during that time.
Yeah.
But still, like it seems to me it's very thematic, very accurate for that time.
Yeah. So okay, is there anything else? What you doing? You bought something.
Yeah, I got the Xbox One Elite controller.
How was that?
$150 controller.
Okay, first of all, it's $150 for a controller.
$149.99. Yep.
That's too much, man. Because how much is a
I don't
normal
know.
controller? $40?
No, man. Regular controllers are, I want to say 50 to 60 for the standard wireless, and I think it's 70 with the play and charge, 70 or 80 with the play and charge kit. So they're kind of expensive.
That's a lot. Did the Elite controller come with like the actual rechargeable battery?
Nope.
Are you kidding me?
Of course it doesn't, man. Come on.
That's ridiculous. It's the Elite controller. All right,
Okay,
so
it's-
sell me on this $150 controller.
First of all, it's heavy.
okay.
I like my electronics that I pay money for to be heavy.
They put a roll of quarters in the back.
Yeah, there's a big metal plate. It makes it heavy. Anyway, so the shoulder buttons are metal. The buttons on the top are metal. The D-pad's metal. Everything is, other than the actual body of the controller itself, is metal. There's rubber grips on the bottom. So it just feels like, it feels like a $150 controller for
Right.
one. But the main selling point of this controller is everything is customizable. So there's an Xbox app where you can customize every single, no, not the face buttons. I'm pretty sure every button's customizable. There are 4 paddles on the back of the controller that you can operate when you're holding the controller with your middle fingers and ring fingers on the bottom. And those you can remap to any button on the controller, including the right sticks, left sticks.
Oh, the
anything.
clicking on the.
Yeah,
I hate
so
that.
what I really like about this controller is you can, like, I play Halo. That's pretty much my main multiplayer game.
Yeah.
So what's cool about Halo is normally when you're jumping around, you have to take your right thumb off the stick,
Right.
which is your moving, to hit the jump button, right? Or hit the reload button, or whatever.
But you don't have to do that now.
You don't have to do it. You can just hit the bottom buttons.
Gotcha.
So there's a little bit of an advantage there. Also, there are 3 different types of thumbsticks.
Mm-hmm.
There's the standard short ones, which is like your standard controller. There's a medium height, they have like a concave, right? That's the bubble one, right?
Yeah, it kind of goes
Convex.
outward versus convex.
Yeah,
versus
concave, so that's what I have, because I just feels better for me. And then they have an extra long convex one.
Yeah, it's still the same design though, right? Offset, because I can't. I honestly, a lot of people love PlayStation controllers.
I can't play them.
I can't do it without the offset.
weird.
What I ended up doing when I had my PlayStation 3, I bought a controller that looked like an Xbox controller.
Really?
That worked. Yeah, it was like a Bluetooth one. But the problem,
It's just one of those things, like, if you played PlayStation right from the get-go, you're used to that, where if you played Xbox. Or
I'm just saying, I think ergonomically, it makes more sense for it to be offset. I don't know. It just feels more. I don't know. Maybe it's just me.
There's also 2 different kinds of D-pads.
You can
One's
all this
more-
stuff is switched out, right? It's all like modular. You can-
Everything is magnetic. Yeah, it's really slick the way they do it. But there's 2 different types of D-pads: the standard metal D-pad, and then the other one is more like an omnidirectional one. So it's better for like fighting games and stuff like that, where you need that.
Do you play fighting games at all or no?
Nope.
Like Street Fighter, Mortal Kombat, none of that stuff? What was the last fighting game you played then? Like Super
Soul
Nintendo?
Calibur 2 on the GameCube, maybe, as Link. Awesome game.
Oh, I remember that.
Yeah.
Do they still do that where they put in? I think they're coming out. I just saw a trailer for Tekken, I want to say 8, Tekken 9 maybe? Tekken
idea.
7?
No
I don't know.
idea.
But they had Akuma, which I think is not originally from Tekken. I think he's from Street Fighter. I don't know. Anyways.
Cool. Anyways, the other cool thing with this controller is you can also change the height of the triggers. So normally when you hit an Xbox One trigger, it goes all the way down to the bottom. There's a slider on back for each trigger where it's kind of thirds that distance that it takes.
Interesting.
And in the app itself, you can change the length. Like, say if you left at the full pull, which I don't know, let's just put a number on it, 1 inch a pull, you can change the distance of that pull till it activates.
Interesting.
So you can change the pull to say half an inch. So it activates every time you hit it. So you don't have to hit it all the way down.
Okay. And so is this is compatible with any game because you set it in a separate program, right?
In a separate app, yeah. They have cool presets that come with it. Like they have presets for Halo 5 multiplayer, Halo 5 campaign. They have a Forza 6 preset. You can also change the accuracy of the thumbsticks, or the sensitivity, I should say, of the actual thumbsticks.
But you can do that in the game, right?
Almost like mouse sensitivity on a PC.
Yeah, but you could do that in each. Well, I guess you could set it by the controller, and then it'll set it. Because normally you can do it per
different. Game. So sensitivity in the game affects your overall sensitivity. The one on the controller affects it. So there's like a graph, right? So it's like at what point of the thumbstick does the sensitivity occur? So you can make it more sensitive as the thumbstick is going more outside. It's crazy how.
So the question is, are you winning? Are you have a better kill to death ratio in Halo?
So the first night I played, I was terrible because it's getting used to the thing, you know.
Right.
I thought I made it more
this thing's not worth it.
I made it more sensitive because I'm like, this is how elite players do it, you know, elite controller. I'm an elite guy, and I was just terrible.
Right.
Anyway, but I think right now it's worth it. It's really fun. Even just, and there's there's a slider for 2 different presets. So you have one for Halo, and then I set it back to just for whatever games.
Oh, okay. And you do that in the app, or do you actually do it within the controller? Is there an app on the Xbox, or
There's an app on the Xbox,
okay.
and there's a Windows 10 app as well.
Okay.
Because all these settings are compatible with Windows 10 and your Xbox One.
Now, do you have to still plug it for the computer to get it to register and all that stuff?
Yeah, unless you buy the wireless adapter.
I think did they just come out with that?
They came out with it in November. It's like $25.
Okay. All right. So that's what you're doing?
Yeah.
All right. Let me tell you what I'm doing. What you doing for me?
What you doing, David?
A couple things. One, I don't know if you got a chance to check it out. Unfortunately, you weren't on the unboxing video with me and Jordan for Comic Bento.
Right. Saw it. It was very good. Good job, guys.
Okay. Couple things. I didn't know if anybody knew this, but I'm a Marvel character in the Marvel universe.
Here we go.
David Bray, look it up. I'm putting it in the show notes.
Of course you will.
There is actually a actual David Bray in the Marvel universe, Earth 616. He is in the Superior Iron Man. It's issue number 2. Which is insane because this is the first month that we ordered Comic Bento.
Yeah.
It's a random comic that they send us, and the comic that they sent us was a Superior Iron Man, which has David Bray as
what a coincidence. And it's cool that that's the book that Jordan took home to read.
Yeah.
And he's the one that caught it right away. It was just
it was
crazy
weird.
coincidence.
He sent me the photo of the actual from the comic, the actual panel, and I was like, "Oh, that's cool that Comic Bento personalizes every single comic."
Yeah, you said that. I'm like, "There's no way they do that for every single subscriber."
You got to come from my standpoint. I'm like, there's David Bray. Like, my name's not John Smith. You know what I mean? It's not a super uncommon.
It is a weird name.
Thanks. Yeah. So yes, I am in the Marvel universe. So I hope that my David Bray person gets some kind of special power. We were joking about this on Twitter.
As far as we know, he's only in that comic. He tries to shoot Iron Man in the face, gets lifted up, and that's pretty much all of him.
Listen, Iron Man was asking for it. I talked about it on Twitter. I'm hoping I get bit by a radioactive marmot.
Talk to Kevin Feige, see if they can throw you one of those movies.
I will gladly play my own part. You don't even have to. You don't even have to pay me. I will do it gladly for
just
free.
On-screen time, David Bray. Walk by.
Hey, Iron Man. That's it. I'll be like Stan Lee. I'll do that. But I did get a chance to read one of the actual comics or graphic novels. And what they do on Comic Bento is kind of some background if you didn't check out the video, which I encourage you to do. But essentially what it is, it's a subscription monthly box where they send you a random box of comics. It costs about somewhere between $17.50 and $20 depending on the plan you get. And you get at least $50 worth of comics. And one of them is actually has a hardback. So the one that I actually read first was one called Lola XOXO.
Yeah, and after seeing the video, I'm an owner of a couple subscriptions. I have a Loot Crate and then the Star Wars Smuggler's Bounty, which are both very cool. And my thing is a comic one, it's like, it wasn't really, I was like, kind of meh. Because I read the Star Wars comics, but I'm like, if they just give you, here's issue 16 of this, here's issue 4 of this.
Right.
But this is really freaking cool. They give you the whole first volume of a lot of these comics to really get you in, and not just one issue. You know, you're in it from the very beginning. They get you hooked, and
that's cool. So this is from the one that I read. It's Lola XOXO. It's the complete first volume, so it includes issues 1 through 6. So it's bundled together. And I think the cool thing about this is that they include stuff from people who like Superior Iron Man. People know who Iron Man is, and then they kind of include some stuff that you might not know from
Marvel,
smaller,
DC, or Dark Horse. You know?
Yeah, smaller companies. So this one was it reminds me of kind of Fallout, honestly.
Oh, post-apocalyptic.
Post-apocalyptic. So
She's
it's actually
hot.
So in this book, basically what happens is the beginning of the book is her as like a little girl, and she's at an airport, and she's in LA, and she's going to fly to New York to see her grandmother. And she's, like when you were, I don't know if you ever had this as a kid, but you ever go on a flight by yourself as a kid, unaccompanied minor?
Nope.
Okay, so you get like a flight attendant to sit with or hang out with you to bring you on the plane. I've had to do it one time. So she's on the plane, and she's like, her parents are like, oh, we'll miss you. You'll be fine. Grandma, you'll be excited.
Yes. Disaster strikes.
And of course, she gets the plane's in the air, and then all of a sudden they have to ground the plane. And as a little kid, she starts freaking out. She's like, of course, yeah. She starts asking the flight, "Are we gonna die?" And she's like, "No, it's just it's a normal like something they were told us to ground." So they ground in Dayton, Ohio, and then of course they see the TV screens, and there's bombs going off, and then it just jumps right to the current, which is this post-apocalyptic wasteland. And she's actually kind of in a sheltered area as a kid. But the guy who kind of overwatches her, essentially is her new dad, teaches her how to fight like crazy, like basically Fallout style.
In a corset.
Yeah, the one thing about this comic is it definitely is like it's like
those normal hot comic tropes,
Yeah, I know. But what's funny is they actually make fun of her in the book, like when she comes out of because of course she's it's that. It's Luke Skywalker. I always wanted to go out and be a trader like you guys, trade stuff and be a merchant. I don't want to just hang out in this bunker.
Yeah, whiny.
And then, of course, she runs off, and then she gets into a lot of trouble, and then she ends up having to, like, work off her debt because it's an excellent comic, actually. It's a fantastic story, but the problem is they do a good job because this is the first volume. Like, there is a arc in this story, but, like, the main arc happens right at the end. She's like, okay, and here we go. And it's like, oh, come on. But
so you're hooked?
Yeah, I love it. The artwork is fantastic. It's very...
I was going to say, the artwork's really nice in this.
Yeah, it's very, very nice. The story, it's very... It's not a complicated story. You know what I mean? Like, sometimes that's a good thing. It's not like twist, M. Night Shyamalan. It's just, what's going to happen. And it's just the artwork is so amazing and enjoyable that I enjoy that aspect of it. But it's cool to see she's not just a pinup girl. She is a badass in this. Like, she beats up some...
Look at the alternate artwork in the back and ask me if she's a pinup girl.
Yeah, I know. So that's what I actually don't like about it. But they do make fun of her in it when she comes out of the bunker and she goes runs away. They're like, "What are you wearing?"
It's like, we're all wearing body armor. It's really bad out there. Should you put like a top on or something?
So I definitely recommend people to check out Comic Bento. It's really, really cool. So between me finding out I'm in the Marvel universe, I don't know how they're going to top next month.
I didn't think his head could be any bigger, guys.
All right, so that's my What You Doing.